Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship Katowice qualifiers. It's day 2 of the first Korean qualifier, and it's time to send our first player through to Katowice as we are about to jump into a ZVP best of 5 between Dark and Classic.
Yeah, we've got 2 ZVPs coming up here in the winners brackets. That lower bracket, we're just looking at it, is just so incredibly stacked. But luckily, this is not the only Korea qualifier. There's still another one to come later. So any of these guys still will have a chance, even those that don't make it today.
And these are server qualifiers as well, so they can also play in the NA one. They can also play in the European one, although obviously
and you can
they
bet they will.
They will. They will try every single thing they have, and it's always interesting to see which Koreans can play through the lag and still qualify through Europe and so on. So definitely a lot of great games coming up over the next month or so here as we have Katowice qualifiers spread out throughout January. For now, though, we do have this first matchup as one player will go to Katowice. To the bottom left-hand side, our red Zerg player is Dark. And his opponent to the top right-hand side, the blue Protoss player, Classic, who did just knock out Innovation from the winner's bracket to get through to this qualifying matchup. Having a pretty good run for himself here so far, and was so very close to going to the Intel Extreme Masters Pyeongchang as well. Was knocked out in the lower bracket final against SOS. But he put in some effort there as well, so let's see if he can go the distance this time around. His early build orders look to be expansion focused for the first couple of minutes.
With the way Dark has been playing, I would say he should be the favorite, but we haven't seen Classic yet, and he did have an impressive run as well in the Pyeongchang qualifiers. Like, Classic is kind of the guy that, you know, is easy to count out, but when you count him out the most is like really when he delivers and beats some of these big names. I remember he had an incredible run at BlizzCon the one time where like a lot of people wouldn't have predicted him, you know, necessarily to do that well. He's consistently being counted out, but always delivers, it seems like.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I mean, I'm one of these guys that never really believes in Classic, and then the next thing I know, he's like winning SSL, he's winning a GSL, you know, he's going crazy. So definitely always want to watch out for in these qualifiers and in these matches. Dark obviously coming off of a round of 4 performance back in Katowice last year. We'll be looking for something similar once again, of course. Obviously maybe looking to go one step further even. So he really brought it in that semi-finals as well. That was against Stats that he lost out in like the most insane game 5 as well, in like UKEC Precinct. So he's definitely one to watch out for.
Classic, actually, he beat Stats in round 1 of this tournament before beating Innovation. Already a pretty impressive run.
Yeah.
Now finds himself in a qualifying match against the beast that is Dark, and it's best of 5 now, not best of 3 anymore. So we're going to be starting to see some of these maps that, you know, we wouldn't see in the best of 3 usually, which could change everything. I would say, like, as a Protoss, usually that makes me worried against Zerg.
I think against someone like Dark as well, who especially in the past couple of weeks has shown us a lot of aggressive play styles. I mean, we casted Dark versus SOS in Pyeongchang qualifiers, and that was full of, you know, some fast roach attacks, some aggression, and really mixing it up. So if I was Classic, I'd be kind of scared, and I don't blame him at all for opening with like a Stargate here, even in the first game, just to get set up into a position where he can play from easily, be confident, he can scout, he can respond in different ways. It just sets him up nicely to deal with anything Dark might throw at him, which I'm sure he will be doing throughout some stage of this series.
And the other best of 5 qualifying match that we will have after, by the way, will be Impact, who will take on Hero. Like Hero, I don't think anybody will be surprised to see him do that well. You know, he beat Solar and then Deer. But Impact, he beat Sue and then he beat SOS. Apparently, if there's an O in your name, you're going down, and well, he's facing Hero with a capital O.
Capital O? Oh no.
Oh no. Well, SOS is a capital O as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick, actually. Like, Impact is having a hell of a run.
Sue also has a capital O.
Yeah.
He's just the destroyer of capital O's.
Apparently he is.
There you go, Impact. He's found the secret. He's found the meta. As we do see, this game, though, is going to be one that has to be played out first. As, well, yeah, nothing too crazy just yet, I suppose. The Phoenix to follow up the first Oracle to start pushing back Overlords. There's a Pneumatized Carapace upgrade, though, so it should only really be one loss. Depends how much Dark tries to see. He's already running away with this first one, the Oracle. Rather than going across the map, he's just going to stick around and make sure he knows where that Overlord is. That Overlord will just re-scout, and the other Overlord up top is trying to get away, and we do see a Twilight Council coming down, and Robo as well, and it looks like Dark's going to pick up on all of this information, so far great scouting despite this Phoenix.
Yeah, and immediately we see a lot of Overlords starting here when that happens, so Dark making sure he doesn't get supply blocked anytime soon, and You want to make sure that doesn't happen when you're on 3 bases like this and injecting out of 3 bases in particular. Classic with the usual good micro here on that Oracle, taking out 2 drones on that 3rd base. Goes for charge as well as more gates. So because he's getting a robo the way he is, maybe some aggression there with charge loss and Archons coming down the line. You will always be taking a 3rd here no matter what, I think, as Protoss, unless you skip on, you know, like you stay on 1 or 2 gases, for example, and then you do like a massive charge lot attack. But it's classic here, not has. Well,
yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you take the 3rd Nexus to fall back to eventually, even if for now you are going to cut probes at full 2-base saturation to get these gates up in some production. As we do see the Oracle patrolling around the map is, obviously, it may just want to kind of pick off a ling or two, maybe worthwhile if you want to move across and if you can't find a way without clearing a pathway, so...
Dark Scout is so good, like he knows exactly that it's going to be charged in High Templars and, you know, in Archons, so he's like, I'll just go Roaches. And Dark is one of those guys that helped popularize and that is known for his Ling Bane Hydra. He was one of the first guys to really do this super well, including Bane drops and all that. What is the style that Classic is using good against? Exactly what Dark usually does. So he's like, you know what? I'll just go Roaches. You already got +1 on the way, a lot of Roaches, clear reconstitution as well. And I feel like Dark should be fine there. And I know before I've said that, and Protoss has won really hard, but I really feel like he should be fine with the amount of Roaches that he's going to have against this, as long as he kites properly. And even now, he's seeing it coming. He's scouting it perfectly.
Yeah, he's even got the Queens pulled towards the front, and they might want to try and get the Prison, but it's just too far back right now with those Archons leading the charge. Results will be warping in, but Dark kiting beautifully so far, and well, it really is winning this fight out to the left-hand side so far. So the bottom left towards his natural, he's in a little bit of trouble. The Zelds will start to do something. He actually does have to pull drones. Maybe Classic is starting to make some progress here. These Archons are still doing okay. I mean, he's killing off 8-9 workers. And that's a lot of workers to go down, and Overlord as well being picked off to the point where Dog even just GG's out. Wow, this went so wrong so fast, and...
He's going to be fine, Wally.
Yeah, he's going to be completely fine, Todd. I completely agree with you there. I mean...
You know what the problem is against this attack here? Is that he had to split in 2. If he's just one main chunk of his army, like say if he has a natural behind his 3rd base, only his 3rd base is being attacked, then it's much better because then he can just kite non-stop. Yeah. Whereas now, you can't kite into places at once unless you're playing Archon mode, which is not. So he was kiting at the top side, and the natural is where he got overrun, where he had to pull drones and he started losing way too much. Maybe, I don't know what he could have done. Maybe he should have evacuated the natural with the drones.
Maybe just needs like just a round of roaches, just one more round of roaches, just a bit faster. Because he was on 60 drones, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it should be enough for you to die necessarily. Like sometimes it has happened, but like to be honest, like I said, we always count Classic out, and even in this fight I was counting him out. But his build was perfectly executed. It was so refined. He was still going for the 3rd Nexus, so the back of this, his production was on top. Like he didn't float any minerals, he just made a ton of charge loss, went forward, and he split them perfectly as well. He knew that by sending the Zealots at the bottom and leaving the Archons around the top side was going to be the right choice, and it was, because the Roaches were at the top side. Those are where you need the main chunk of your Archons to do the AoE onto those Roaches, so it makes kiting that much harder. The timing as well was... I think Clear Reconstitution wasn't even finished for most of that timing, so it's like Roaches are still kind of slow even on creep.
I think the one thing that was really awesome was just the fact he attacks between the natural and the 3rd base as well, rather than like to the side of the 3rd base, because that instantly creates that scenario where you can just kite backwards and you're not worried about Zealots flanking in.
And usually that's the thing that Zergs were the ones abusing for a long time. I remember the Antigua Shipyards day, right? Like where it was so hard to defend between the natural and 3rd base because that huge gap. And now it's like... Protoss, they're like, well, we got warping, we can just go across the map and also use that to our advantage. But yeah, I wonder if maybe Dark made a few drones too many. Like, obviously, you can't be telling yourself, I'm just going to skip the upgrades entirely. Like, I don't think the upgrade is that expensive either. Like, he would have had maybe 2-3 more Roaches, which is not the biggest difference. Maybe he said he took too many gases, in a way.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go for links against this, but I think he would have had enough gas with maybe 1 or 2 less.
It's a tough one.
Just
like
the,
a really
the execution of Classic is like very high up there, right? Like
it's a very fine line you walk between just having the perfect number of units to push it away, or just getting like landslided and having to pull drones and losing so many and just looking at making it look like a stomp. And unfortunately, Dark was on the wrong side of that line. Great execution, as you said, by our man in the bottom right hand corner of Ascension to Aya. The blue Protoss player is Classic. To the top left-hand side, the red Zerg player is Dark.
Maybe the initial supply block actually was a big deal last game, because it's kind of a thing that snowballs, right? Where Dark, he has to make 3 overloads instead of just adding 1 more and then 1 more. And he kind of broke his rhythm for a little bit. So that definitely might have played a role too.
I think a lot of factors come into play when, especially when the Protoss are hitting so cleanly and so, at the right time, everything starts to add into it, okay? And it gets very...
the momentum.
Yeah, momentum.
That's all that matters.
Well, Classic has the momentum in the series right now. We'll see if he can do something with that. 1-0 up here against Dark, and it's best of 5, so it's not end of the world. Dark can, he's got some room to kind of try out different things and to figure out that sort of defense this time around, perhaps. See what Classic goes for. Sinchai is another fairly decent map where you can sort of go for a similar thing, like attack between the natural and the third base.
Yeah.
Sort of split units up and be very aggressive here in general. So
that was a sick build, to be honest. Because like, when I was looking at it, I didn't even think it was going to be that strong. I really feel like it comes down to the execution being so clean, like not even close to getting supply blocked, getting the exact right amount of probes, the exact right amount of gateways, and hitting at the perfect time. Like, just before Guerrilla Reconstitution was going to help before +1 finish. Like, those were both upgrades that didn't even come into play for Dark, right? It's almost as if he shouldn't even have started either and made more units instead. But I think, from what I can tell, he was still using all of his lava. Like, I don't think he particularly missed injects, but maybe that happened. Like, it's hard to tell just like that. I would have to see the replay, but really good aggressive playing coming out in game number 1 of Classic. It's going to be interesting to see if we see a repeat, a little bit of a repeat. I mean, you have so much success with the build, you almost want to do it again up until the point it doesn't work anymore, right?
I think the great thing about using it in game 1 as well is now Dark has to be afraid throughout the rest of the series of more builds like this, and so maybe he doesn't drone as heavily. And in scenarios where Classic goes more macro-focused, that's going to hurt Dark more than it helps him, obviously. So it's kind of a cool little dynamic, but that's a very fast road troll on the way up from Dark. So I think Dark's just saying, yeah, you know what, let's just get aggressive myself. Let's not let you get away with this.
Not necessarily, though. That might be just to be able to say, like, you know what, you kill me with charge loads, that's never going to happen again. I'm going to get a roach run from the start.
3 minutes.
I scouted well in the previous game. I'm going to scout even more now. Yeah, we'll see. I guess when you see the Evo chamber like this, like I'm feeling even more something like Burrow, like Burrow would be so sick.
Yeah, maybe drop a couple of queens across the map, maybe. I'm intrigued. It's going to be a bit interesting. He doesn't have pneumatize, right? So dropping doesn't make sense apart from maybe kind of elevator.
Does he have pneumatize?
I don't think so. I think that Overlord was just moving super slow.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Oh, no, Classic. We're so close to seeing this Overlord here. Maybe now? No way! Ow!
Well, the Phoenix might... Okay, well, he sees the links.
Okay.
That's a pretty big tell.
That's a little bit of a way to figure this out, as we are going to see now. He will have this Oracle on top of this Overlord, and all the roaches are beginning to come across the map.
Yeah, this is the decoy. He wants to force the energy being used here.
Yeah. Well, keep you busy, and of course when you see kind of lings like this, you maybe don't expect the roaches, right? And so if you don't start up something like a Void Ray, what do you have on the ground to fight against roaches? Because even an Oracle isn't brilliant, as we're going to see lings in the main will just turn around. Like you say, a lot of that energy already being used up here.
I like the Wall for the natural, but yeah, Void Ray would be huge against this. Oh my god, he actually cancels the shield battery. Classic. He thought he was out of the woods here. And the roaches are not going to hit his natural. I mean, sure, Dark got supply block, but the unit's already there. He's just going to unpower all the gates before the first warp-in is there.
I mean, this is more or less game already, right? I mean, warp gates aren't even finished morphing in as the lings and roaches are going to start killing so many of these probes. I mean, the Phoenix can lift up one of these roaches for a little while, but it's not going to make enough of a difference. Probes desperately now trying to throw down pylons, but so much damage already done. Obviously, those pylons are just going to get picked off as well. No way does Dark let these units or these gateways get repowered. I mean, there is the Void Ray in the main base, and that's something Dark cannot deal with here, but he's got so much time to deal so much more damage. And that's exactly what we're seeing. First Corrosive Bile will land. Actually kills his own Ravager in the process, but I mean, still, probes are just dropping now. He unpowers the Stargate from future Voids, and there's still just so many Zerglings, and I think continuing to flood lings is something that the Void Ray just won't deal with here.
Yeah, Dark making a statement in game number 2. GG gets called. Dark gets the Equalizer. And he basically says to Classic, we want to play aggressive now, do we?
Yeah, Classic is like, no thanks. Actually, that's not so fun when you're on the receiving end. Dark wastes no time at all in tying this series up one apiece, and we talked about in game 1, Dark's someone you've got to be afraid of in terms of these sort of builds. He can turn the aggressive switch on. He can start to throw roaches at you at the 4-minute mark. And
he used very well the lack of information of Classic, right? Because if you have all of your units at home as Classic here, and you're defending the initial drop, behind this, you have to kind of guess. It's like one chance out of two you get it right, whether the opponent's making drones of units. So he made a shield battery on his natural. He waited until the last second, and he wasn't being attacked on the natural. So he's like, well, I guess he's droning up. Cancels the shield battery. No. Immediately after, Dark arrives and breaks the natural.
I think it was very well played based on what Classic did in the first game as well, because Classic also didn't go across the map with the Oracle to do damage. Yeah. It was the exact same in game 2, and if you use that Oracle, you will see the Roach Roaring, and then you can begin to react. But
the initial drop is what really sold this and like made it work as well.
Just made it look like a little bit of harassment, droning behind it perhaps. No, not at all. In Classic, Lord of God heavily here to drop map number 2. Tied up 1 apiece.
Good job by him. Here, Dark bringing this back with some good aggression, but now like it's such a weird dynamic heading into game 3 where like they both have had success with big attacks.
Yeah.
And it feels like they still should both like, you know, be going the extra mile to try and scout, see what the opponent's doing. But in StarCraft, there is only so much you can do here. Like if you think in terms of like what Classic could have done last game better, maybe he sends the Oracle across the map to make sure he sees where the units are coming out and stuff. But in the heat of the moment, like you see links being dropped, you're like, oh my God, I need to be there. I need to defend.
It's really tough.
Maybe second pylon in his wall of the natural, get a shield battery as safety behind. But the thing is, if you play extra safe, and then the opponent's making drones. So it feels like the only right choice is to make sure you have some sort of units out on the map. Either it's at the watchtowers in the middle or around the natural of the opponents to make sure that you know whether it's making drones of units. That's the main piece of information that you need to know.
Yeah, very interesting little scenario that pops up right there. We have seen 2 of the more standard maps already. You mentioned it's a best of 5, so we could be seeing something weird coming through soon. I mean, obviously we think Battle on the Boardwalk is kind of interesting. You know, even some of the standard maps which are much smaller or much larger, and that's what Neon Violet Square is, a much larger map here for these guys to play on. So we'll see how they approach it. It's to the bottom right-hand side. Our Red Zerg player is Dark. Definitely not a map where we're expecting to see a whole rush of roaches super early. To the top left-hand side, our Blue Protoss player will be Classic. Of course, so much potential for different bases to be taken. Some players like to play the Pocket Expand. Some people do not. Some players like to move out and take the gold base right away, apparently, as Dark heads out over there nice and early with his very first drone of the game.
It's definitely not usual series, I feel like. Both players really playing to their own image and the opponents, and really trying to outsmart one another, and this time will be no different with Dark opening the quick gold base that Classic is going to be scouting for very early, making sure he knows what's happening so that he can react appropriately.
This gold base is so separated from the main and where the natural will be as well, though. That immediately gets me worried about things such as like adept attacks, where the adepts are going to have so much mobility to move between bases and to punish the Zerg player for being out of position perhaps and being so separated on his bases, or even just like a double prism play of like Zalad Archon.
And I mean, it's Classic, right? Like, what response will you be triggering most of the time with this? Aggression, really. That's like super obvious. It's like, you know, Bella getting a paper cut at the when she meets Edward's family in Twilight, right? It's like, are you even trying? They are vampires, come on.
I was really wondering where this was going. As Dark takes a second gold base of the game. Wow, so Dark's really going to make this one a little bit funky here, and as Classic comes across, he will finally just confirm that this is the gold base of Dark taken. I think it's a lot less likely that he scouts the gold base of Classic, or go his own gold base being taken. So, interesting one as we see this first adept. Will Chrono Boost out here. Obviously, again, just a single adept even can do a lot when the kind of lings are separated. The queens aren't there to just gather together and push back as easily.
The Stargate now starts. It's worrying for Classic that he's not going to see this very fast, assumedly. And Dark actually taking double gold. Like I feel like you have to drop a Roach one and go for big attacks, really, because like your economy is just going to be ridiculous. All that's missing is a recall from the... If you can imagine, you could recall drones from the main base to the goal. The other goal is like...
It's like trying to be a pro. Let's see, this first run will go... Ooh, I was going to go down there. I was going to say nice blocking by the adept, as we're going to see this one does fall. But nice around by the drones. Dark deals with this very effectively. One drone loss, some very minimal mining time.
Tonight we fight back.
Yeah, these drones, they don't want to be bullied. They want this gold base. Oracle on the way up. An Evo chamber now from Dark already as well. I mean, surely we can't be thinking of like a He's on 23 drones, right? So it's looking like a Link Flood and to drop aggressively into Elevator. So Dark really ramping this up. I would guess he can also drop a Queen because of the fact that he has the Queen across the map already.
It's going to be so close. But
oh, and a Bane Nest. Wow. This is very unique, to say the least.
He's just going to throw the kitchen sink at Classic here.
Yeah, absolutely everything. Classic sees the creep now, so he does know.
Sees the kitchen.
He finds the
Spots the sink.
He sees it coming. Well, that's
Needs
already
to prepare his
deal.
hammer in the air to smash it in pieces. And that's exactly what these shield batteries are.
I like the double shield batteries. We see the first drop into the main. Already a Void Ray on the way up. I mean, that's where the Queen will come in to help a little bit here. Those Lings are getting ready to unload. Again, at the front, it shouldn't be much of an issue. I mean, maybe he loses the Cybercore, but all it's going to take is like one Adept being out to slowly push these back, and it should be fine. He really just has to focus in the main base, where right now there isn't really too much. Here comes the Oracle, but obviously has to be careful of that Queen.
Yeah, Classic needs to delay the fight for a little bit there. He's going to need a lot more units than this here to be able to deal these Lings and Queens better. There we go. A Void Ray and one more Adept is a start. He's even going to pull the probes here to try and prevent some of these attacks here from those Lings onto his units, and gets the initial cleanup here with ease. We get Pneumatized Carapace actually starting behind this. It's even more encouraging because he saw a Void Ray, but I mean 3 shield batteries there. That Adept is going to be a god.
Yeah, there's no way that this is going to do enough from Dog. Not just yet. I mean, killing the Cybercore could be nice. But even still, I mean, killing the Cybercore, you just build a new one behind. You can actually shield battery it up to health a little bit as well if you would like to. Dark is trailing here heavily, as right now Void Ray is going huge, picking off Overlords. I mean, this Queen as well is not going to have a great time. Even Spore Crawl's coming up on this goal base to try and help out, but well, this really is so far all about Classic, and that Queen's now cornered. I wonder if the Void actually will help against the Spores as well. It will. And it'll go straight onto that Void and Oracle. We'll get one, maybe not the second one though. Depends how fast he targets. He wants to get those Overlords too, but he's not going to get it. Oh my god, he does! Wow, how does the Void Ray reach that far? That's huge.
Actually, yeah, that other Overlord can't even drop there.
Yeah,
there's enough units already. So the defense was there here from Classic. He finds himself quite a few walkers ahead here.
Even gold bases don't really make up a 14 worker deficit, especially because Dog still has a lot of his workers on the main base too. This is a really tough scenario, and he is just making more Lings. He is
Dark is so low, he can't, like, I mean, he can't transition. He can't possibly transition. I think he just has to keep on making units and then hope to catch a lucky break. Maybe a Baning drop could do it. Let's see, he's going to try and get that.
Classic is so aware of what this could be. He actually splits away already. Classic's playing this out wonderfully so far. And well, those Adepts are pretty stacked up, but I don't think there's enough Banes to actually get a kill. So Doc does not commit to it. And that is going to be, for now, just being pushed away once again. Lings will approach the front and start target down the Cybernex core. Once more, the Cybercore's been through some tough times. As Shield Battery will manually start to heal that back up. And, well, hey, for now it's enough. Only just.
Yeah, it's just going to be so many charge loads. Like,
keep in mind,
Dark Slings are not going to be upgraded anytime soon. There hasn't been any tech whatsoever here, so...
I mean, double Oracle in the main to help defend. The units on the low ground out of position a little bit, but all Classic has to do is survive against this. However, there is Banes and there's Mineral Line right now. The probes are stacking up. And Immortal coming out too will just help this out. If those Banes can maybe get on top of the Zealots and the Depths as they're stacked, maybe that's something.
Oh, he wanted to bait the shots from those Banings, but I mean, there's still so much left over here from Classic.
I mean, it's not even close, right?
Yeah.
Finally kills the Cybernex core. He's been gunning for that for a long time, but Classic wants to build Zealots anyway, so it really isn't that much of a big deal, as we're going to see another drop back into the main. I mean, now an Archon's going to start morphing in, perhaps if he gets a chance. Doesn't quite get in the gap, which is a shame. Oracle's coming in to defend too, and maybe Dark starts to get something done here, but Zealots, Adepts, the Immortal once again, and new Immortal's about to pop. It's just never going to be enough to truly ever
the expansion.
shut the Sami down.
Oh my god,
he's in.
Pushed.
Finally.
Banelings actually come through. If you got some massive detonation on some probes and blew up like 25, Dark could actually saturate both of his gold bases and maybe make this a real game, but as it is, he's just lost too much here, I think.
Classic's retained so many of his units. He's dealt with kind of wave after wave of this without issue. I like this, a fake Dropper Lord. It just forces some lost mining time and maybe stops Classic from ever kind of gathering those units back up, but, well, it only lasts for so long, and it's still a huge lead from Classic here. The 13 worker difference, the army supply lead, Phoenix now to help push back those Overlords again in the future. I mean, like you say, Doc can try and saturate some gold bases, but it really feels like for that to be successful, he needs to kill a whole bunch of probes first, and Classic's just been pulling workers away very effectively. He's not letting Dark get that opportunity.
Can you imagine the Terran players that are in this tournament that, you know, maybe like finish their series or something, they tune into this and they see these games. They're like, what is this matchup? I'm so happy I play Terran.
Are they though?
Absolute madness.
Yuling's going to jump in towards the main base again. I mean, it's just attempts, but now Warp is about to even bring the Archons around a bit more. It's just nothing realistically here for...
you will need a lot of banelings here to be able to deal with this, which I think are just not there.
Just one bane in the main. I mean, a couple of banes are morphing in. He doesn't have a single baneling ready for this, though, as Classic comes to take the fight at Dark's second gold base. And, well, the Archons and Immortals in the back will do a very good job of cleaning up. If they can get through to them.
Where are those Queens going?
Yeah, these Queens are on a bit of an adventure. There we go. Finally, the Archons and Immortals on top of the Roaches, cleaning up the Lings eventually. And, well, it's very much so as we expected this to go. As we are just going to be seeing the units continue dropping down, trying to load into like dropper loads or something to try and save these units, but it's just, well, delaying the inevitable. Classic picks up the third game, and now we have Classic on match point, retaking the lead in this series, this time defending the aggression of Dark.
Yeah, and like I said, like after 2 games like this, you're good at take your scouting to the next level. Like if you can make sure you know what you're up against, in StarCraft II, like if you're as good as any of these guys, you should be able to defend whatever is being thrown at you. And here, that was really the case. Classic, it's almost even better to overreact than to underreact in this case too. Like he made so many shield batteries on his natural, and that was just so well defended that all he had to focus on after that was the main base, and then he had enough there, just the void ray perfectly on time and all that. So good job by him. Now 1 map away from qualifying for the Intel Extreme Masters, Katowice, which I'm sure he would love to go to.
Yeah, I'm sure. Classic. I mean, he gets to an event like that. Maybe it's his finally a breakout in like a foreign event. So
get some pierogies, earn a lot of money.
I mean, when you throw the pierogies into the equation, it changes everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
to be honest, no, probably not for Classic. He's definitely one of those Koreans that brings like
the instant noodles.
Yeah, the ramen.
They're like wandering around the hotel lobby at like 2 a.m. trying to figure out how to get hot water.
Yeah. You know, like it's so funny to me, like these guys do that. They're like, the local food? No. We're bring all ramen. That's like if I traveled everywhere with like a suitcase of like croissants and baguettes, and I just like microwave them or whatever, and I just ate them. That would be so sick. Maybe I should start doing that. Take the Frenchness within to the next level.
All right. Well, we're gonna see how game number 4 goes. We'll see what. Again, I'm kind of intrigued to see what the map order continues to be here. I mean, we still have Abyssal Reef to come through, which could be a very macro-focused map.
Yeah.
We still have something
Do we see a normal game, though, in this series? Is that possible, after all that we saw up until now? I
mean, potentially. There's Catalyst as our 4th map. I mean, honestly, for Catalyst, we could see something very aggressive, because it is a very short rush distance from base to base. It's quite narrow. It's actually kind of hard to get into kind of a very solid higher number of bases here. Like, 4 bases is fine. But to take a 5th base, you start expanding forwards on what is already a short map. It can get very, very tough. The bottom right-hand side, our Blue Protoss player, up 2-1, is Classic. 1 map away from his trip to Katowice. As to the top left-hand side, the red Zerg player is Dark.
I wonder if their weird games and stuff kind of comes from the fact that they might be very close friends because they were teammates for a while before in SK Telecom T1.
Yeah, you forget about that nowadays. It's been a long time. SKT1 used to have so many great players.
Yeah.
Sue, Innovation.
It's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, when you think back to that lineup.
Like, for such a long time. That's so many good players.
I mean, to be fair, the Jinna Green Rings lineup right now is still pretty sick.
Yeah.
Rogue already qualified to Katowice. SOS, Maru.
SOS is still, like, insane. Yeah. For me, SOS is, like, one of those guys who's so brilliant that I almost feel like, you know, he should have fell off or something. But no, he's still ridiculous.
Yeah, I really hope we get to see some more SOS kind of in the future qualifiers, because his games in Pyeongchang qualifiers were really awesome, and he really kind of kept it entertained all the way to the very end. So we'll see more of him. I'm not sure, how is he doing in the lower bracket? Is he still alive?
Yeah, he has to face Bjorn.
All right. I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes it very interesting.
We might not be showing those games, but some Terrans have been in some Protosses in this qualifier. I actually can't wait to check out whether, like, if replays are up, I want to see those games.
Yeah, figure out what they're doing.
What's happened? What went wrong?
Have they finally released
There was a glitch in the Matrix.
Maybe they've just been holding back one build order all this time until it really matters now.
Yeah, that was good. Gap.
Stargate starts up here once again from Classic. 4 games back to back, and Dark will not see it just yet. But, I mean, obviously from a Stargate, it's not too end of the world if you don't see it immediately. I'm sure he'll get that scouting with the second overlord, which is currently on its way across as well, although it actually turns around, so maybe he doesn't. Alright, well. Continuing to move through this here, and early game, pretty much the same as what we've seen previously, minus the Lings flooding. Dark already taking the work account to new levels for this series, almost. Apart from back in game number 1.
That would be a good map to play a more normal game, I think.
Yeah.
Katowice has almost become like one of the staple, maps that you will see even in just the best of 3 a lot of the time. One of the more appreciated maps in the current map pool.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really kind of makes Katowice a bit weird is that it's a bit shorter natural to natural. So something like a fast roach attack can hit quite quick, as we're going to see a very fast lair here. I mean, we're used to kind of faster lairs nowadays.
Yeah.
But 3:15 is still about half a minute, 40 seconds before what a lot of players have been going for. Is eventually this overlord we'll see the Stargate. Look at this fast Void Ray out of Classic.
I really wonder, like, does Dark actually get a roach one every time because it's Classic and he plays so aggressive, or like against most Protoses, will he get that all the time? I mean, nowadays, to be honest, it kind of feels like you have to be aggressive, right? You can't afford to be like old school rain, where like you don't attack for such a long time. You go for very repetitive style. You have to mix in a lot of attacks in StarCraft, even if you're one of those more macro-orientated players, because otherwise Zergs like Dark, if they can get away with keeping a roach one and then just skyrockets to something like 70 drones, it feels like you've pretty much lost, right? Like you're always going to do bad against that.
Yeah, it's a tough one to find the balance on. I think in this case, Dark is just throwing down the Roach Rowan in the terms of it's part of his build, because look how nicely it lines up with the lair finishing to start Roach speed. So delaying the third hatch to get a much faster Roach speed in +1 obviously signals aggression out of Dark, right? Like a big Roach time in the next minute or two. Well, Classic, be prepared. I mean, you already built a Void Ray. I think that's a big part of being ready against a stack of Roaches that attack you, so already
yeah,
this
maybe it's just to be
interesting.
extra safe so that it doesn't die like he did in game 1. And he might just be happy with reaching the 3 to 4 bases position. Yeah. Just kind of safely, and then kick into gear and try to win from there. The problem with that is that if Classic plays, standard / greedy enough, it's not punishing. And then in that case, he's going to be able to do well in the mid to late game himself. Like Classic is a fantastic macro player, but he plays aggressive a lot of the time. So maybe you're right, and Dark is counting on that so that he can just make an approach. And if we look at the production tab, 4 more gates on the way, and Immortal just finished. And with Charge on the way, you can expect Classic almost every time to go for an attack here.
Yeah, Temple Archives is starting up, so he is ramping on up to get going here. This time, Dark obviously is putting workers a lot earlier himself, as see the Stasis Ward is actually not going to get down. Revelation instead, which keeps track of a couple of things, especially if in some way Dark was maybe looking to utilize these Queens aggressively, but also tagging the Roaches, obviously. Yeah. Very nice to see attacks coming.
This is the same build as game 1. It looks very similar from Classic.
I don't think so, right? Because he has, he didn't make the Immortal last time. Did he?
No, he did, I think. He's getting a Forge, though, now, so I guess he's not gonna be attacking. Yeah, I think he was already maybe hitting right now in the previous time that they played in game 1 with the Prism.
I think he went straight into Prism, not the Immortal, right? Which was sort of the difference.
Yeah.
And that allows you to attack a little bit.
And he had like 2 Archons very fast.
Yeah.
Classic actually mixing in a very macro-orientated game here. In that one, so is Dark, even though like he opened safer, like he's obviously happy to be droning up, adding on the Lurker Den now as well, but Storm is going to finish so fast in this game.
It's worked nice for Classic though, because Dark wasn't on 60 workers all of this time like he was in game 1. He did build up a lot of Roaches, and he did set up into that army early, and so both players, well, especially for Classic, he's keeping Dark in a position where he hasn't had insane amounts of economy. And the Lurker Den on the way up, but isn't going to be done just yet, as Classic does start to poke in towards the center. Storm will be finishing soon. I mean, obviously he wants to maybe pick off a couple of these creep tumors, but he cannot afford to get caught out. If he gets caught out in the middle of the map right here, I mean, that could be deadly for him, because there is a lot of Roaches, and now Hydra's on the way up as well. No War Prison to reinforce either, and I think this is where we maybe have to see a recall. Sentry goes down.
High Templars! Run away!
Run. That's kind of nice, I guess, the High Templars not being seen. I mean, that was kind of a crisis recall, but it works out in the end for Classic. Loses a Sentry, but not much else.
Roach, Hydra. right now being made here by Dark, who's getting the +2 missile. Pretty big deal. That's gonna finish so fast. Oh my god. A big lurker push here. We've seen how strong those can be. Like, obviously when he laser did it recently, it wasn't with upgrades. When he did it against Showtime, that worked out super well for him on Abyssal in the Pyeongchang qualifiers. But lurkers in high numbers against not a super high amount of Immortals or even Disruptors, they always do super well, regardless of whether there is high Templars or not. So we'll see if Dark can make that work, and even if Classic can see it coming early, because that's really the key in being able to defend, kind of delaying that attack. 8 of them already morphing, Wardy.
Lurkers are pretty deadly lately. We're going to be seeing them getting ready to go across right away here. I mean, Classic just has to sort of stop them from getting into position even. He starts up a second Robo now. I mean, an Immortal count's going to be important. And one thing is, he does have a good Immortal count from earlier in the game.
He has no recall for a while here.
Yeah, he has to be cautious. I kind of like Classic's army though, right? I mean, he's got the Storms, he's got good Immortal counts, he's got an Oracle for Revelation. Like, he has
the Oracle
tools
is
to fight
super
this.
important. He actually misses the tag on the Lurkers, but he still has a bit of energy there.
He has an Observer too, which will do the job for now, as long as it doesn't get sniped down. He will come back in, and there is the tag on some of those Lurkers. So here we go, maybe he starts to commit on in, Storms will drop, and Zealots are leading the charge. There's a lot more Storms available. I think Classic has to be careful though. Those Immortals are dropping very, very quickly. High Templars are just not storming fast enough now. The Warp Prism will try and migrate, but Dark picks up the Lurkers, brings them even further forwards. The next wave of Zealots can maybe just push this back. He loses a lot in the process.
Oh my god, he defended.
Wow. For a moment
Did you look at the supply during the fight?
Yeah,
it was 170 to 100, but I guess a lot of that is in reinforcements from Dark, and Classic was able to reinforce straight into the fight, but I'm still shocked that he was able to defend there.
I think the thing is, though, he lost all of his tech units already, apart from this one Immortal, which isn't going to last too
Where
much
are the shield
longer.
batteries?
They just don't exist at all, and Roach is reinforcing this, are doing the job for now. There's one Immortal. I guess a couple of Zealots with the Voider will help to push it back, but Classic is really just hanging on by a thread, and he needs something to really propel his way, defending against this better, because, I mean, he just can't keep up with this forever. And I mean, let's try to wall off the Immortals there, but one still falls. Even the Prism isn't getting a chance to warp in across the map, and will come back home, I guess, to even just micro these units and give them a bit more survivability.
Yeah, there's just too much.
Yeah, way too much right now, as we're going to be seeing these probes continue to drop down. We're going to see the pylon dropping as well. Doesn't empower that rover, there's a couple more to the side, but I mean, what even comes out to help? Another Immortal. We've seen them die again and again and again. Now the Prisms, the micro potential disappears, and Immortals will keep on dropping. Probes are going to start being worked away at soon. Classic has barely anything now, and there it is, the GG, down over 80 army supply at the end there, as Dark ties it up once again to take us to a game number 5 in our first qualifying match of the day. These guys are going at it with each other.
Yeah, I think against this kind of push, you kind of need to be engaging from multiple sides, because otherwise all your charge loss, they die too fast, the rest of your army kind of gets splashed in the middle. But Classic couldn't really afford to be behind this army to come in from two sides. And Dark forced the fight super early as well. Like, you see how he sieged just kind of right on the outskirts of that third base. And he was basically going to start on sniping, you know, a gateway that was there, maybe even the probe line. So he was like basically saying, engage into me right now, because it's the best moment for me to fight. And Classic went for it, and he just didn't have enough at the time. That was a crisp timing from Dark with +2 missile. That was really well executed, actually, especially considering it's not like he built his economy like crazy and then went for something. No, he actually played super safe in the start, so very solid from him.
Great game number 4. I just love how different each and every one of these games is. This game, Dark goes like super fast lair, like almost like he wants to hit with +1 roaches, but then actually it's just for like really good upgrades and lurkers and staying safe. But Classic plays differently too. It's not like Classic just tried the same old attack. He looked similar, but was doing it a bit different, a faster Immortal. The Void Ray first as well. Like,
he was trying to get lucky with the Void Ray for sure. He was basically saying, well, I hope you go for units and attack me, then I can get my free win, but not quite, no.
Not quite. Dark not going to give him that. But maybe, I mean, just how do you even pick what to do in game number 5 like this when each game's been so very different?
Usually it's very map dependent, I think, like the plan that you make. But I personally like a lot the game plan of making yourself decently safe against aggression and then heading into the mid to late game with some decent tech and economy, unless one of them wants to do a bold attack, like one of those, you know, crazy all-ins or timings that we've seen in the previous games. But that would be very risky, because the key in having that work is that you're going to surprise the opponent. And both of them have been quite a bit on top of their scouting, I would say, for the most part.
Classic definitely maybe in a position to change it up, because he's going to Stargate every game. At the same time, if you've gone Stargate every game already, it feels as though that's how he plays this matchup.
Oh my god, battle on the board.
Alright, then we're going to do it. It's the 5th game of this best of 5. One player is about to book that plane ticket to Katowice in early March. So we do have to the top right-hand side, our Blue Protoss player is Classic. Tying the series up once again. Can he finally win 2 games in a row? Can he finally take the lead in this series when it matters most? Our Red Zerg player is Dark. I think the map changes up everything here going in. I mean, we've seen pretty much as a standard on this map. Protoss players expanding to the gold base first. See if that's something Classic does. And I actually remember it was game 1 of Dark versus SOS in the Pyeongchang qualifiers that was on this map. And Dark punished that gold base with some very aggressive kind of roach play. So potential is there for Dark to make this crazy.
It looks like Classic's gonna go for it. I see the probe already kind of heading out there.
Yeah, he wants to take this expansion. And again, you generally do this because A, it's a gold base, it's pretty nice. But actually, the natural expansion that you could take on the low ground is pretty difficult to defend as a Protoss here because it's very difficult to actually get a wall off, and there's 2 different entrance points.
You have to go for the old Zelnaga Caverns wall off.
With the Nexus.
With the pylon in the middle line and stuff. Like, it's like, oh my god, please. Map makers, don't do that to us.
Yeah, Battle on the Boardwalk is an interesting one. It came through the recent TLMC.
Got a couple results from the lower bracket, by the way. Stats was able to beat Deer, and SOS beat Beyond. So it's Stats versus SOS in the round 4A. So basically in the top 6 or something in the lower bracket. So they still got a couple matches, and then TY still playing Sue and Gumeo still playing Innovation.
So I guess Deer and Stats and SOS play, and then the winner of that plays one of the losers of our qualifying matches right now. So
and then there's still not a qualifying match.
Yeah, and then they still have to qualify. Yeah. If the lower bracket is a long and treacherous road, especially in these 16-player brackets. It kind of
the lower bracket is. Have you ever watched Spartacus?
Yeah.
The pits, man. They're in the pits and they need to get out.
Could not come up with a better analogy myself. I'm not gonna lie. It's not fun down there, man. It is not fun down in the lower bracket. The pit here in our qualifier. Well, we do see Ling taking the watchtower, and guess what? It's a Stargate again from Classic. I guess you could say that's pretty classic of him. At this stage, 5th game in a row. Let's see if he tries to gamble on the fast void ray.
I mean, if you always practice with Stargate, it makes sense to go for it. Like,
of course.
Technically would be off his game, so to speak, if he didn't go for it. And it's like I said, it's also situational build otherwise. And now the fact that he went for a quick Nexus is like, I'll just grab a Void Ray, be safe against pretty much any attack you can throw at me. The only thing, like something like, Adept like this and Void Ray is not that great against is some sort of Link Float plus Queen Drop, which is definitely not impossible, but you can still defend against it if you see it coming early enough, and that's why we could be seeing, I think, Classic trying to scout here and there. So far, it hasn't been putting the greatest of effort into that.
Dark's actually going to open the same way he did in the last game, so finally we have a bit of a repeat build order from him. And well, obviously kind of like the way it worked out, as this Void, though, will catch some of these Overlords early. I mean, it's not like the Void is, like, super useless, right? Obviously, it's super good against aggression. It's a bit of a commitment if your opponent's just being passive, but it will still clean up those Overlords. You're probably going to make a Phoenix anyways.
Yeah. So
it's not too bad here. There's the Oracle, though, if you go for it first.
That's cute positioning, by the way, on the Twilight Council down there. It's like one of the places where, like, Dark can't really be looking just yet.
Especially with the Overlord dying.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as that's hidden, maybe Classic can surprise with something. Like what we've been seeing a lot from him is charge so far. I don't think it should be any different unless he felt like going for glaives here would be good. I feel like Blink is maybe the least likely.
Yeah, I think Blink's really kind of would be really out there. It's just going to be charge, 4 extra gateways. We've seen this sort of stuff from Classic before. I guess we'll see what comes out of the Robo, right? Is it going to be that Warp Prism first for aggression?
Yeah,
is it
because he went for that many gates, I think it should be, but going for an Immortal first could make sense as well, as long as he Chrono Boost out consistently, and then into the Warp Prism as well.
No Forge this time as well, by the way. Maybe he could go for like a couple of Immortals, then a Prism, and get aggressive with like an Immortal Zealot push, rather than just like Zealots and Archons. It's going to be the Prism though. Temple Archives coming down. Yeah. No, he cancels. It's an Immortal. Sort of indecision there. I wonder if he just saw something at the very end which made him think, maybe the Immortal would be better. Maybe he just saw the tail end of the Rotron.
It's possible. I mean, if you wanna If you want to take things slow, though, you will get a forge. So the fact that there is no forge tells us that he should still be wanting to attack. 43 walkers, you know, it's not to the point where you can be like, oh no, he's gonna macro for sure. Like it's still a number on which you would want to be attacking, and already being up on 6 gateways. I do think that Classic will be going for an attack. Yeah, there it is. The prism starts now. Dark though, he's getting a lot of roaches. He starts a couple drones, but it's not like, you know, he's fully droning up. He's getting enough units to, you know, kind of be getting ready for an attack, and he went for +2 missiles very early here once again.
We're going to try and catch up with those roaches as they push on forwards. Will arrive at the third nexus, and
oh my god, they're blocking each other?
That's a little bit up there and a little bit of a mess. Charge about to finish those, so these roaches won't do too much. Audrey will help to push them away as well.
Swarmo's production actually now starts from Classic. He's going to try to use the map to his advantage. Maybe send some
Locust to the bottom right.
Yeah, but like even Locust from like almost the middle of the map, you know, towards that natural base. Like they can basically go everywhere because they're flying now.
It's super awesome. You can come to on this map as well. Like you say the natural, like come to the top side, like throw into the.
Nidus.
Yeah. Oh my god. Nidus,
so that's for the bottom base then,
okay.
I think.
Well,
you can just Nidus there, send Flying Locust. That Nexus on the gold base is instantly dead. And then it puts so much pressure on Protoss to make something happen. You almost can't be defensive against this. Then you force a bad attack out of Protoss. That's how you win usually. The fact that he went for +2 missile is so huge with this. Yeah, because he's going to get it so fast. Like he's going to get it by the time Classic has to decide whether he's attacking right now or not, which I really feel like he has to, right?
He's actually going to bring the Immortals across the map, and the Prism has to be so careful with so many Queens nearby, but dodges them for now. He's around the top, and he will actually just drop these Immortals. I mean, Queens on their own against the Immortals won't have a great time, but he picks up as the Nidus, so you can pop the Swarm Host out into an aggressive position on the gold base. Get that ready to go. And, well, a lot of the tech's there as well, by the way. Templar Archives and Twilight Council, remember? So if he loses those couple of structures, that could really hurt, as Classic will be here in this Nidus right now and be like, huh, what, where? And, well, he's actually going to be moving.
He immediately moves out. Yeah, he knows that his Nexus is probably dead. Unless recalls, but then he would lose so many units.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work out at all. I mean, he's going to lose the Temple Archives now, the Nexus. I think counterattacking is great because the Swarm was on cooldown for so long.
Yeah, but +2 missile, like I said, will almost line up perfectly here with when this attack is finally happening. The Swarmos are reloading right now. He's going to take some serious kiting though, because Dark's army in Roaches is actually not that huge yet.
And with like so many tech units here, Archons, Immortals, there's the High Templar, which are getting sniped though. 2 of them, oh sorry, just 1 goes down. He lifts up in the Prism last moment to save 1 of them as well. And Storm is there to be brought into this, so Classic will be able to kill the 3rd hatchery of Dark, and he is only on 3 bases, so now down to 2 bases. 2 bases apiece here, and Classic...
He needs an Observer to clean up some of this creep.
Yeah,
maybe
really
retake
nice.
the gold base, I think, and just stay out there to force the Locust to kind of be coming on this position all the time.
Yeah, I actually really love this for Classic as well, because even if it does stay 2 base apiece, he has the fresher base, right? You know, Dark has been mining from his 2 bases already, but Classic loses a base he has mined from, so... a little bit of an interesting scenario here.
Just like the rest of the series, by the way, they're going to continue on attacking. Like neither of them willing to slow down and try and expand more. Like Dark gets right away in the face of Classic once again with some more Locusts, this time on natural base. He's going to get the Robo! Oh my god, just before that Immortal came out as well.
It's actually a huge loss because, I mean, Immortal production is important at this stage of the game. It will do so much for you moving through. Dark's supply is still way up there despite being 5 workers down. His army is just so very terrifying at the moment. This Classic will just expand out on the map, doesn't feel it's worth taking the gold base again. Probably just afraid of a similar kind of Nidus move.
Yeah, and also there's probably a lot of those minerals that were already mined, so he's like, you know what? Yeah, he's hoping for this almost. Because now if Locusts go there, they're going to take a very long time to reload again. Then maybe he just goes for the attack. Can you imagine if you had like 2 force fields, by the way?
Oh my god. all of those Locusts for like, what, a gateway? I mean, a Twilight Council that doesn't need to be used anymore. This is not good, and I feel as though Classic should be triggered into an attack here, but he doesn't go for it. In fact, brings the Prism to the south side of Immortals.
He's going to catch the Nidus before everything can load up. This is sick. Oh, okay, no. He evacuates. That was close.
It was very close. I mean, you kill that Nidus, these Locust just sat there. That's
if there had been like 8 Locusts out there on their own, they would have died for sure, right behind us.
Well, and Nidus is going to come up to the right-hand side and stay aggressive, keep that potential there. We'll be able to Locust on towards the 3rd Nexus, so
I think
possibility.
This War Prism is a huge threat, by the way, because back at home, I don't think Dark has an incredible amount of units, so if this drops and then there is a huge charge loss warping in the main base, for Dark to defend is actually going to be quite hard. Turning claws coming into play. Are there any cannons on the natural?
I don't think so. No, there is not. But
for some reason, he has a bunch of zealots.
Yeah, some zealots and the roaches pop up right next to them just to make their lives even easier. The locusts here are being dealt with pretty well. I mean,
the immortal drop across the map is going to have to do a lot there because Classic is getting picked apart here right now.
He's going to be able to warp in zealots with it as well. He's
okay, throw down the Dark Shrine now. The lair is coming down.
Well, actually, it wouldn't be a bad thing just in general for harassment as we see Queens and Swarm Host going to come in. He's going to lose the Immortals, though. I mean, that's an expensive loss that I don't think he can afford. He obviously thought he could maybe get this lair. It's so low, less than 100 hit points.
There was no transfuse available either here, so Classic in all sorts of troubles. He's getting picked apart here by a couple of burrowed roaches all over the place. Hive now starts from Dark, who's still maxed out.
This is really starting to go Dark's way. As you say, he's just pulling Classic apart. That huge army supply for him has really been working out. And now we're going to see, okay, the lair goes down, which means no Hive. Dark has to start rebuilding, but so goes down the third nexus of Classic here. And Classic, I mean, his army's still good for a fight, but he really has to fight without the Swarm Host in play, while also not letting the Swarm Host doing too much at home to make them all in. It's a really difficult scenario, and, well, probes just keep on dropping. 17 workers killed recently. And Classic is down over 20 workers now, as apparently that's not actually a wall off there. As those roaches sneak on by.
You had one job, Pylon.
You're meant to just, I don't even know. How does that happen? Very unfortunate there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's only a couple of roaches which get away. Still an annoyance.
Yeah, Dark's still maxed out. I just don't see how he can throw this away here. Even if you run into Storms and this army, which is still pretty scary on the ground. Like, this amount of Swarm Hosts, he's just going to keep on floating the Protoss and kind of starve him out of units.
You have more Swarm Hosts on the map than roaches. That's kind of insane. But also scary if he does kind of mess up the Swarm Host wave, if there is a counterattack potential.
How do you mess it up?
I don't know, but if he did find a way to, then...
oh yeah, the force field, yeah, that's going to help.
Yeah, Classic guy didn't realize that flying units don't get affected by those yet. Swarm Host Locusts are going to drop on top of this army, and okay, the Storms help to deal with it kind of quick, but he still loses a couple Archons, he still loses 9 workers. I mean, obviously the Swarm Host Locusts are free, and so they just go again and again and again, and this just doesn't end.
Yeah, and Dark really covering all of his bases here very well too. Restarting the Hive immediately off the back of this. The upgrades is what impresses me the most. He went for +2 missiles so fast, and I really feel like it helps so much in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a big part of him being able to just keep on engaging so effectively. I love this. Only half the Swarm Host Locust being used just to keep Classic pinned back. Because right now, if the damage that Dark has done, the longer he sits up on 3, soon to be 4 bases, the better it is for him in terms of being able to rebuild than it will be for Classic. So just continuing to force Classic back works fine here, as a couple of roaches could just keep Zealots back. It just keeps Classic thinking about being back at home. And eventually here, Dark will hit Hive as well. He built that lair, and this time Classic is not responding immediately to these Swarm Host Locusts. He loses an Archon.
Yeah, Guardian Shield a little bit late there. Recall, I guess? No?
Maybe he just goes for it.
Yeah, I think he has to.
I mean, what's good's going to come back home to you anyways, right? I mean, it's not like your economy's great. It's going to go while some of these...
Alright, the Side Templars have a hell of a task ahead of them.
Well, first storm is good, and some of these Locusts not moving in. Actually, the second storm pretty good as well, but
everything's
so much more. These Swarms are really making life difficult here for Dark himself. Eventually, though, surely, there's just no way. Swarm has come off cooldown and so on. Another storm here is Classic. Obviously feeling good right now, like pushing on forwards, but it's only going to take another couple wave of Locusts, and these units really are going to start disappearing. Hydra's coming into play as well. And these Storms are just not doing enough. There just isn't enough Storms anymore. He's run out of them. Now the Hydra's going to engage much more easily, and even drones pulling in. And this is what we were saying, you know, Classic's kind of counterattack will be having some potency, but at the end of the day, Dark will just have way too much, and as those Locusts looking to hunt down the last couple of Immortals on the Archon, Dark is going to be our first player qualifying for IEM Katowice in 2018. With a very crazy series, a very impressive series, honestly.
Congratulations to him. We'll be seeing him in Poland in early March. That's going to be fun. And Classic still has a shot though. Like obviously there is a lower bracket on top of having another Korean qualifier coming down the line later this month. Great series, man. I wonder, okay, can you imagine the other Protoss and Zerg that we're going to see in the other semi? They watch this. Does it give them inspiration, or do they want to stay as far away as possible from this kind of game?
I think Heroes looking at this like, Yeah, I'm just gonna like micro with the Wall Prism a bit more and like be really fancy and just kill him. And Impact's like, uh, like, do I take double gold? Is that good for me? It's kind of a rough run for Impact. I mean, he's beaten Hero before. In fact, most impressively in a grand final as well, where he won a championship for Zero. It wasn't a VSL. And, you know, obviously games changed since then, but he's got the potential.
Yeah, Impact has
So,
had a more impressive run, I think, up until this point, than pretty much almost anybody else. So perhaps you can take a look at the brackets.
yeah, have a little bit of a look to see how things have been going on. Just confirm the upper bracket and how it's playing out as well. Yeah. Momentarily, perhaps. Maybe not. Maybe we're just meant to be in darkness. But yeah, I mean, great games so far. Like Dark Classic, best of 5, going the distance. Quite the treat, honestly, I think.
Yeah. A lot of the time, in like, you know, you get a best of 5 qualifying match, like you see a 3-0 and stuff. No, this wasn't one of those series.
And there it is. Obviously, Dark did defeat Classic 3-2 to qualify himself. Impact versus Hero is going to be our next matchup on the stream. And the lower bracket is pretty brutal itself. Dia versus Stats. Well, we already know a couple of these results. Stats did beat Dia. SOS did beat Bjorn.
Bjorn, and TY won, and Innovation as well. TY versus Innovation. Oh my god!
So many good matches happening over here in today's Intel Extreme Masters qualifier. We're going to be throwing this to a break. When we come back, it's our next qualifying match. Impact versus Hero, another best of 5 CVP.